was how to center a page inside of the browser. So back in the day, many pages were not centered, and I found it really cool that we could very easily center a page in the browser using a very simple trick. And so let me now share that really nice trick with you in this video. Now, the very first thing that we need to do in order to pull off this trick is to put all of our content into a container element. Because otherwise, if we don't do that, then what is there actually to center in the window? So what I mean is that right now, as we keep resizing the browser window, all of the content actually stretches from one side to the other. So there is no content there to center in the center of the browser, right? So we first need a container, and that container then needs a certain width. So let's put all of this into a box, and this box doesn't need to have any special meaning. So we don't need a semantic HTML element here, and so we can simply use a div element. Now, this one should not close here, but it should close right before the end of the body. So it starts right there, and we close it only here after the footer. And now as I save it, all the indentation should automatically get fixed. And it did. Nice. So this is a really nice thing about Prettier. So when we keep adding other elements, then all the indentation will automatically get fixed, which is really, really helpful. Then here we need to give this a name, and I like to use the name of container. Let's copy that class and style it here. And as I was saying, now we actually need to give this container a width, because otherwise there is not really anything to center. So let's start with 700 pixels, and I'll make it a bit wider later. Okay, so we have this width of 700 pixels now. So you see that now the width of this element, so this header here, which is a child element of the container, is now only 700 pixels as well. So again, this div here has a width of 700, so we can see that here. And so now the child elements which are inside of it can of course not be bigger than that. So they can only be as large as the container element. And so therefore this one is also 600 pixels wide, or actually 700. So that's 620 plus 40 plus 40. Okay. So this has nothing to do like with inheritance or something like that. Instead, it is simply the logic that the child element can never be wider than the parent element. And so if the parent element is 700, then all the others are going to be 700 as well. So this one, for example, is 700, and the H2 as well, and so on and so forth, right? The same here goes for the image, of course, which is 100% of the parent. And so now as we keep making this bigger, these 700 pixel container here always keeps staying on the left side. And so now as a final step, we need to center this container element inside of the browser. And so that is the actual trick. So giving the container a width is part one, and now part two is to add some margins to the left and to the right of the container. So we can say margin left and then set it to auto, which stands for automatic, and margin to the right, also automatic. So what this means is that the margin on the left needs to be the same than the margin on the right side, and they should both be calculated automatically by the browser. And so therefore, this will mean that there will be a margin on the left and on the right, which will be exactly the same size. And therefore, as a result, the container will look centered inside of the body. So basically inside of the browser. So if we give this a save, then it does actually work. Great. This is fantastic. So as we resize, let's see, then the margin on the left and on the right keep growing, and they keep giving us basically this illusion that the page is completely centered, so that the container is centered. So if I inspect this now and go to the container, then here I can see that the margin is right now 180 on both sides. And if I resize this, then you see that now it is only, for example, 72.5 on each side. So again, it is the same on both sides because it is auto on both sides. And auto means that the browser will automatically figure out the width. Okay. Now here, actually, I want this to be 800 pixels, but I put it a bit smaller before because if we then put it like this, we can actually not see anything. So it doesn't look centered. But of course, if we keep growing the window, then now this entire column is nicely centered. Right? So this is a really great trick. And I remember back in the day, like way over 15 years ago, I was really happy when I discovered this trick. Now, just to finish, we can also write this here as a shorthand once again, which is actually even more common. So the margin at the top and the bottom right now is 0, and left and right is auto. And so that is the second value of the shorthand. So we can get rid of this, and there we go. Let's test it again. And indeed, it had to work the same, right? And with this, we finished this nice trick. And also, actually, we finished this part of the section about the box model. And so what this means is that we are now ready for the next part of the coding challenge. So after reviewing this and maybe reviewing this entire file, so how it looks like right now after this part of the section. So once you're done doing that, then let's move on to the next video and start our next coding challenge. So see you there.